All right, welcome to the daily market analysis for 6 May. What we're going to do tonight is go over updates of the market since last night and identify setups happening tonight going into tomorrow. So first pair we're going to go over is EC. Explain real quick what happened yesterday. All right, so yesterday they had retested the low during the US session, right? And basically consolidated and came up during the London session towards the stop punt box, that 25 pip box, before dropping and extending this low. We got in about here-ish and got out. We got stopped out because they came back down. Fronted our stop loss, and I'm trying to figure. It's not clear on this 15. I mean the 1 hour. Let me drop down to the 15 so I can explain it better. So when we got in, it was about here right after the US, right? And they came back down and retested, and then retested a second time. This is the one that took us out yesterday. We fronted our stop loss, brought it up to basically break even. It had been hitting, basically riding along that 50 EMA. I was hoping, because of the news releases and stuff, that it would spike up before the Asian session, but it didn't. So once it hit this 50 EMA this last time, I knew it was going to end up stopping us out. I was hoping it didn't, but I fronted our stop loss anyways. We broke even. They rose up during the London session. We did not take this because I missed that move about here-ish is when I looked, and it had already crossed the 13 and it was pretty much gone at that point. This is that Brinks box that I like to catch, preferably down here at the low. I wish they had waited a little bit longer, but they knew what they were doing. So they came back, hit that, extended that low here, right? Extended this low, created a new low of the day, retested, and then took off. Had I woken up a little bit sooner, we would have definitely been in profit. Looking at this candle, the top of this candle, the way it closed, if you look at the RSI, TDI was already outside of the Bollinger Band. So I wasn't comfortable with that. Had we had gotten in here, right here, I would have been a little more comfortable entering. But that was a huge candle closing above the 13 and TDI already at the top Bollinger Band. So we missed that one. As of right now, I'm going to sit on my hands with EC, because looking at where the sun is, you see TDI still has some space in between it and the bottom Bollinger Band, right? Just too much for my comfort. So I'm going to see how they behave if and when they make it down here. If they don't, right, and they issue us a fat W on the 4-hour time frame, then I would definitely take it. What I'm hoping it will look like is something like this. First leg looking like this, obviously a W, not an M, but I'm gonna use this as an example. Hopefully first leg like this, and then they coming back up to retest. Or even first leg here, and then doing like it did here, giving us some divergence. You see that decline, and you see that decline. That's the only way that I will enter on EC. But as of right now, I'm not going to pay attention to it. One of my favorite pairs now, and I've been covering this all week, is in C. Looking at the day time frame, that W is still valid, right? They've been consolidating now for 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, 6 days. All legs or both legs are still valid. First, second here. You see, first leg is at the low level line. Second leg is at the 50 or the market baseline. Excuse me. So, and you can see they both of them have closed flush at the same exact point. So this is what I like to see. First leg has a moon, and then they've issued a star on the second leg. So we'll be waiting for them to retest that tonight, this previous leg here, right? So coming up towards the 13 EMA and coming back down to retest before taking off, which will give us a W on the 1 hour time frame. That's what I like seeing. Once they do that, and we'll jump down to the 15-minute chart, see how they are. See how they are on the RSI. If they are towards this market baseline or this bottom Bollinger Band, and that is an even better confirmation that they're going to go long. All right, moving on to NJ. This is another one I've been covering all week. They're still working that high, coming back up. So it's another 22 trade, right? We got an M right here, first leg, second leg, and then another M right here, first leg, second leg. So there's 2 legs and then 2 legs. That's 22 setup. You see this first or the second M, right? The first leg of the second M closed below the top Bollinger Band. Second leg is coming back up towards the top Bollinger Band. That's what we like seeing on the on the 4 hour time frame. Here's the first leg of that second M, right at the top of the at the top Bollinger Band and near the high level line, right? And then the second one is just above the market baseline. It doesn't have to be at it, doesn't have to be right below it. Sometimes they come right above it, right? So there's still some space here in between TDI and the top Bollinger Band. So we'll see how they behave at this high here. I'll go ahead and insert that rectangle there. This is where I'm expecting that reversal to come through. If it doesn't happen tonight, and I'm only saying this because this is the last pair that I'm going to cover before I hand it off. If these setups do not happen tonight, we are not trading tomorrow. Tomorrow is non-farm payroll. That is, again, the most aggressive day on the market. Whether you are in the right direction or not, I advise you not to trade, because just because the setup is valid doesn't mean they're going to go in that direction. So, for example, we all know that the market maker likes to do a thing called the stop punt. So we got first leg here, second leg, and then a third hit, right, to the high. When NFP drops, they could do a drastic stop punt way up here, even though we know that the real trend is short. They could do a drastic move, long candle up here, and then an even longer one to go in the actual direction that they want to go. So we just sit aside. So that is going to happen. That news release, I think it's about 11 hours from now. Let me see. Let me confirm.
I think it's 12. I think it happens at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard. I might be wrong
though. So in about 11 hours.
Is it?
Yeah. It's 10 hours and 46 minutes. So yeah, about 11 hours. So if it don't happen tonight, we won't be trading tomorrow. during the U.S. session because they'll be setting up for that NFP. So we'll just wait for these to see how they behave at the week ending, and then we'll be back on here Sunday to go over the damage. All right, so again, waiting to see how this leg behaves up here, whether they respect it or not, or whether they exceed that high. But this is the range right here for the reversal. So more to follow on that. All right, I'm gonna pass it off to Nick so he can cover his pairs.
All right, so starting off with my favorite pair as usual, GU. I was thinking that maybe it was going to be able to give us an opportunity, but upon further evaluation, while he was giving a brief on his pairs, I don't like it. I remember seeing this this happen before in the market. Since I've been trading, I've seen this little exact move. It's what I like to call a board wipe. And I remember it did not end up painting in the direction that we thought it was going to go. So I'm going to wait for a better trend to populate, which will probably won't happen until next week. And we'll go from there because I really just don't like the way that's looking. All right, moving on to GJ. GJ, we're looking to take short. If we get M formation, right, we got our peak formation up here, right? Nice shift to the bottom. However, they started to consolidate around the 200 EMA. But the good news about that is the 50 is right above it. They've already pinned it, and they've given us – oh, no, they didn't. That was just the bid line. So we're looking for them to give us a star on the top end, preferably somewhere above the 50 EMA and an M formation to take short. If not, we won't be trading that either because if we take a look at the 4-hour chart, right, directional bias is short, right? Okay, we're coming off the high here, right in here. And so our directional bias is short until they give us a significant reason otherwise to take the trend long. All right, I'm gonna cover an additional pair after EG. We haven't covered it really much this week, but I think we got some good opportunities. EG is also a long. We have our peak formation low, right? And we've had one day of rise, right? So we have our sun here, and I know we're back up at this high, right? And it can be perceived short, but we look at the day chart and we see the true trend is long, right? So that's just them consolidating around the 50 EMA. The trend is still long, so we're looking to take this long, right? Don't let these lower time frame consolidation periods deceive you. This is why we always defer first to the higher time frames to properly give us our directional bias, right? To really start to reinforce that. Otherwise, you can get caught up in all of the quick motions and consolidation off of a low, making you think it's going to come short, but in reality, the trend is long, right? And you don't want to get caught up in that. So we're looking for W formations coming out of the London session. Looks like it's starting to set up already pretty good. Not a huge fan of this long wick here to start the day off, but it's not really a terrible factor. All that tells me is they needed to hit the stop short for the second time, because they did it here before yesterday, and they needed to do it again because too many people got it right up in here, right? So they had to trigger some stops, get some money back because they shifted really aggressively. Okay, all the way really back up to the high of the week, right? So had to take some of that money back. All right, moving on to EU, last but not least, right? Pulling up the day chart here, right? So EU currently looking to take the overall directional bias is short. However, I'm going to contradict myself right now on some stuff that I previously said. All right, we have our peak formation low here, right, of the week. And we've had a consistent 3 levels of drop. 1, 2, 3. So what I'm looking at is I think that they're going to come back up and retest, right, into this range. This range is big enough to where if I see a good enough signal, I will be willing to take the long for a day only, right? So it's kind of like an alibi trade in a sense, right? Because you have to remember, right, it has to be perfect because this overall trend is short. But I think they're going to come back up and retest, and this is actually kind of reinforced by the day chart, right? We got this high here, right? Completion of level 1, back up to retest. They came down, pinned the 50, gave us a star, right? So this helps to reinforce the short-term directional bias of possibly being able to take this long, right? But if we don't get a perfect formation, preferably like a Brinks trade, you know what I mean, in the London Brinks trade box, it's going to be a no-go, even if they start to move in the direction that I'm talking about, right? Because it's technically against the market maker trend, the true trend, and it's not something we always like to do. So we're going to be very careful about that. But I do think there is that potential. And now, actually, upon further evaluation, they've done this trap through method, right? We've talked about this before, right, with this 000 line, right? And they've started to trap through this 000 line in addition to pinning the 800 EMA, right? So this is all helps to support that possibility of being able to take that long for a day. I personally will not be trading tonight, period. I traded NFP one time in the past month, and they slapped me. It absolutely took a bunch of money from me, and I will never do that again. Learned a good lesson. And it was before NFP was published, actually. It was during the London session. But they just, market makers use that to help manipulate the market even further at all the times, right? So I'm not getting clapped again. I promise you that. Not during NFP. So we're just going to leave it at that. As with every other webinar, feel free to reach out to us if you guys have any further questions. Javon, do you got anything else for me?
Nope, that is it. Y'all have a good night.